Most people think skipping food before the gym is dangerous, that you'll feel weak, dizzy, or lose muscle instantly. But what if the meal you eat before training isn't fueling your workout at all? What if your body has been lying to you about where energy actually comes from, and training without eating might unlock fat loss, mental clarity, and metabolic control you've never felt before? Picture walking into the gym without eating anything beforehand. No breakfast, no pre-workout, no protein shake on the drive. Just your body, your breath, and an empty stomach. For most people, that idea feels immediately wrong, almost dangerous. You've been told your entire life that food equals energy and energy equals performance. So no food must mean weakness. That belief is so deeply wired that challenging it feels irresponsible. But here's the reality few people stop to question. The meal you eat before your workout is not actually powering that workout in the way you think it is. This is where the misunderstanding begins. Most people confuse the sensation of feeling energized with being physically fueled. When you eat before training, your body releases hormones in anticipation of incoming calories. That hormonal response can make you feel alert, motivated, and ready to move. But that sensation isn't the same thing as usable energy inside your muscles. The energy required for your workout was already stored in your body long before you stepped into the gym. Once you understand that distinction, the entire conversation around fasted exercise starts to change. Your body doesn't work like a gas tank you top off minutes before activity. Human digestion is slow and deliberate. When you eat a meal, it doesn't instantly transform into fuel for your muscles. Food can sit in your stomach for several hours before it's even broken down enough to be absorbed. From there, nutrients enter the bloodstream gradually over many more hours. That means the calories from your pre-workout meal are being prepared for later use, not the workout you're about to perform. So why do people feel stronger or more energized after eating? The answer lies in anticipation, not fuel delivery. Your brain detects incoming calories and triggers hormonal shifts that prepare your body for action. Insulin rises. Dopamine increases. Cortisol adjusts. These changes create a feeling of readiness. It feels real because it is real, but it's not the same as fresh energy being burned. The fuel your muscles rely on during that workout was stored earlier, often from meals eaten the day before. To understand why training without eating doesn't automatically drain you, you need to understand how the body actually stores and uses energy. The human body relies on two primary fuel systems. The first is glycogen. Glycogen is glucose stored in your muscles and liver, and it's your most convenient energy source. It's fast to access and easy to use. The average adult stores enough glycogen to fuel normal activity for roughly 12 to 24 hours, depending on movement and intensity. The second fuel source is body fat. And this is where perspective matters. Even lean individuals carry tens of thousands of calories stored as fat. That's not emergency fuel. That's a massive reserve designed to sustain life and movement when food isn't immediately available. The problem isn't that your body lacks energy. The problem is that most people's metabolism is trained to ignore fat and constantly reach for glycogen instead. Your body always chooses the easiest fuel first. Glycogen is simple, fast, and efficient, so as long as it's available, your metabolism prioritizes it. Fat requires more steps to convert into usable energy, so your body avoids it unless necessary. When food is constantly coming in, especially carbohydrates, your metabolism never has a reason to practice burning fat efficiently. Over time, that skill weakens. That's when people start feeling dependent on eating before every workout, even though the energy they need already exists. This is where the story most people were taught quietly falls apart. The idea that you must eat immediately before exercise to perform well doesn't align with how the body actually functions. The energy for that workout is already inside you. What eating does is signal comfort and predictability, not supply immediate fuel. Once that illusion fades, a more interesting question appears. If fresh food isn't required in the moment, what actually happens when you train without eating at all? When you haven't eaten for 12 to 16 hours, your glycogen stores begin to thin. They don't vanish completely, but they're no longer overflowing. And when glycogen becomes less available, your body doesn't panic. It adapts. It shifts fuel sources. This transition is where fasted exercise changes the rules. With less glucose to rely on, your metabolism is forced to access stored fat for energy. Fat cells respond by releasing fatty acids into the bloodstream. Your liver converts some of those fatty acids into ketones, an alternative fuel that both muscles and the brain can use efficiently. This shift isn't extreme or unnatural. It is a normal biological response humans relied on for survival long before constant access to food existed. The ability to switch between glucose and fat is called metabolic flexibility, and it is a hallmark of a healthy metabolism. When someone eats frequently throughout the day, especially refined carbohydrates, their body rarely needs to practice that switch. Over time, fat-burning efficiency declines, not because something is broken, but because it's unnecessary. Fasted exercise reintroduces that demand. It forces the body to access stored energy without stress or urgency. And once that switch starts functioning again, a cascade of internal changes follows that most people never experience when they always train fed. One of the most important changes happens at the hormonal level. When you exercise without eating, insulin levels stay low. That matters because insulin is not a fat-burning hormone, it's a storage hormone. When insulin is elevated, fat is effectively locked inside fat cells. When insulin is low, that lock is removed. Fat becomes accessible. During fasted exercise, there's no incoming glucose, so insulin remains suppressed, allowing more fat to be released and used as fuel. Studies consistently show that aerobic exercise performed in a fasted state increases fat oxidation compared to the same workout done after eating. This isn't motivation or mindset, it's physiology. At the same time, another hormone rises sharply: growth hormone. Growth hormone plays a critical role in signaling fat release and protecting muscle tissue during periods of limited energy availability. Fasting alone increases growth hormone. Exercise alone increases growth hormone. When combined, the effect multiplies. Some research shows growth hormone levels rising several times above baseline when fasting and exercise are paired. This is one reason many people are surprised to find they don't lose muscle when training fasted. In many cases, they maintain or even improve muscle tone while reducing body fat. From a survival standpoint, this makes perfect sense. Muscle is valuable tissue. It allows movement, strength, and the ability to find food. When energy is scarce, your biology prioritizes preserving muscle, while pulling fuel from fat. This isn't a loophole or hack. It's a built-in system designed to keep you functional under challenging conditions. As these hormonal shifts take place, insulin sensitivity improves. Insulin sensitivity describes how efficiently your cells respond to insulin. When sensitivity is high, your body requires very little insulin to move glucose into muscles. When sensitivity is low, your body releases more insulin to get the same effect. Over time, low sensitivity contributes to fat gain, energy crashes, and metabolic dysfunction. Training in a fasted state interrupts that cycle. With insulin already low, your muscles still demand energy. They adapt by becoming more efficient at pulling glucose from the bloodstream with minimal insulin involvement. That improvement doesn't vanish when the workout ends. It can persist for hours afterward, compounding over time and improving metabolic health beyond the gym. Mental clarity often improves as well, and this isn't placebo. During fasting, ketones produced from fat provide a steady, efficient fuel source for the brain. Ketones cross the blood-brain barrier easily and support calm, focused cognition. Many people report feeling sharper, less anxious, and more mentally stable when they train fasted. Fasting and exercise also increase BDNF, a protein that supports learning, memory, and brain resilience. Norepinephrine rises too, increasing alertness and motivation. From an evolutionary standpoint, this makes sense. A hungry human needed to think clearly, move efficiently, and stay focused long enough to find food. Weakness in a fasted state would have been a fatal trait. For most of human history, people didn't wake up, eat breakfast, and then decide whether they had enough energy to move. They woke up hungry and had to move first in order to eat later. Hunting, gathering, traveling all happened in a fasted state. The human body evolved not to collapse without food, but to become more capable when food was scarce. Understanding that fasted exercise can work is only half the equation. Knowing how to apply it correctly is what determines whether it becomes a powerful tool or a frustrating experience. Not all workouts place the same demand on your energy systems, and that difference matters even more when you haven't eaten. The goal isn't to prove toughness. The goal is to work with your biology instead of fighting it. Low to moderate intensity aerobic exercise is where fasted training shines the most. Activities like brisk walking, light jogging, steady cycling, or easy swimming rely heavily on fat as a fuel source. These movements don't demand rapid bursts of glycogen. Instead, they reward consistency and efficiency. When done in a fasted state, most people can sustain these efforts comfortably for long periods without feeling drained or weak. This is why walking is often the best entry point for fasted exercise. It's accessible, low stress, and incredibly effective for training fat metabolism. A fasted morning walk allows your body to practice burning stored energy without triggering excessive fatigue or hormonal stress. Over time, this builds confidence and metabolic flexibility without the fear that often surrounds skipping food. As your body adapts, endurance improves. What initially feels unfamiliar starts to feel normal. Hunger signals calm down. Energy stabilizes. The body learns that movement does not require immediate food intake to be safe. This adaptation doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen reliably when stress is kept low and consistency is prioritized. Higher intensity exercise is a different story. Sprinting, high-intensity interval training, maximum effort cycling, or explosive conditioning sessions rely heavily on glycogen. When glycogen availability is reduced from fasting, performance can feel compromised at first. That doesn't mean fasted high-intensity training is impossible. It means adaptation takes time and expectations must be adjusted. Some research shows that after several weeks of metabolic adaptation, trained individuals can maintain high-intensity performance even with lower glycogen availability. Their bodies become more efficient at sparing glycogen and utilizing fat alongside it. However, forcing high-intensity workouts too early often leads to burnout, dizziness, or excessive fatigue. Adaptation rewards patience, not aggression. Resistance training sits somewhere in the middle. Lifting weights in a fasted state is absolutely possible, and many people do it successfully. Growth hormone levels help protect muscle tissue during the session, reducing breakdown. Strength may feel slightly different at first, but that doesn't automatically mean progress is lost. The key with fasted resistance training is what happens after the workout. Muscles require protein to repair and grow. Training fasted and then delaying nutrition too long removes the raw materials your body needs for recovery. This doesn't negate the benefits of fasted training, but it does mean post-workout nutrition becomes more important, not less. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming fasted training means avoiding food for as long as possible. That mindset turns a useful tool into unnecessary stress. The goal is metabolic flexibility, not deprivation. Eating a balanced meal with adequate protein after training supports recovery, while still allowing the hormonal benefits of fasting to do their job. Another common mistake is pushing volume too high too quickly. Fasted training works best when intensity and duration are scaled appropriately. Early on, shorter sessions are better. This allows your nervous system and metabolism to adapt without triggering excessive cortisol or fatigue. More is not better when your body is learning a new pattern. Hydration also plays a major role. Many people mistake dehydration for low energy. Training fasted without adequate water intake can amplify fatigue, dizziness, and headaches. Adding electrolytes, especially sodium, can dramatically improve how fasted workouts feel. This isn't cheating the fast. It's supporting basic physiology. Caffeine is another variable worth mentioning. Black coffee or unsweetened tea can enhance fasted performance by increasing fat oxidation and alertness. However, relying too heavily on stimulants can mask warning signs from the body. Used sparingly, caffeine can be helpful. Used excessively, it can turn fasted training into a stress response rather than an adaptive one. One of the most overlooked benefits of fasted exercise is appetite regulation. Many people expect hunger to increase, but the opposite often happens. Training without eating can improve sensitivity to hunger signals. Meals become more satisfying. Cravings decrease. This isn't about willpower. It's about stabilizing blood sugar and hormonal rhythms. Fasted exercise can also improve relationship with food. When movement is no longer dependent on constant feeding, food stops being a source of anxiety or urgency. Eating becomes intentional rather than reactive. This psychological shift is subtle but powerful, especially for people who feel controlled by meal timing. That said, fasted exercise is not appropriate for everyone. Context matters. If you are pregnant or breastfeeding, your nutritional demands are higher, and this is not the time to experiment. Supporting growth and development takes priority over metabolic experimentation. People with a history of eating disorders should approach fasted training with extreme caution. Even if physical outcomes appear positive, the psychological patterns it can reinforce may be harmful. In these cases, any form of fasting or fasted exercise should only be considered under professional supervision. Individuals with type 1 diabetes or anyone using insulin must be especially careful. Blood sugar regulation becomes more complex without food intake, and fasted exercise can increase the risk of hypoglycemia. This is not a situation for trial and error. Medical guidance is essential. Other situations where fasted exercise may do more harm than good include chronic kidney disease, being significantly underweight, or taking medications that require food for proper absorption. These are not minor considerations. Ignoring them can lead to serious consequences. Even in otherwise healthy individuals, the body provides clear warning signals when something isn't right. Persistent dizziness, heart palpitations that don't resolve with rest, confusion instead of clarity, nausea, or extreme weakness are not signs of discipline. They are signals to stop. A simple rule applies. If symptoms don't improve within 10 to 15 minutes of resting and hydrating, end the session and eat something light. Fasted exercise should feel controlled and stable, not punishing or chaotic. Discomfort is not a requirement for effectiveness. Once fasted exercise is understood and applied correctly, the focus naturally shifts from short-term results to long-term sustainability. This is where most misinformation creates confusion. Fasted training is not meant to replace all fed workouts forever. It's a strategy, not an identity. Used periodically, it enhances metabolic health. Overused, it becomes unnecessary stress. The most successful approaches use fasted exercise as a tool within a flexible routine, not a rigid rule. Frequency matters. For most people, training fasted 2 to 4 times per week is more than enough to gain benefits. This could be as simple as morning walks, light cardio, or occasional fasted lifting sessions. On other days, eating before training may support performance, recovery, or enjoyment. The body thrives on variation. Consistency does not mean repetition, it means balance. One of the biggest advantages of fasted training is how it changes the body's baseline. Over time, energy becomes more stable throughout the day. The constant need for snacks decreases, crashes become less frequent. This happens because the body is no longer dependent on a steady stream of incoming calories to function. It knows how to access stored fuel efficiently. Fat loss becomes more predictable as well. Not because fasted training magically burns more calories, but because it improves hormonal conditions for fat usage. Lower insulin, higher fat oxidation, and improved insulin sensitivity all work together. Fat loss stops feeling like a daily battle and starts feeling like a background process. That happens naturally when habits are aligned. Muscle preservation remains a concern for many people, but when fasted exercise is paired with adequate protein intake later in the day, muscle loss is not inevitable. In fact, many people report improved muscle definition as body fat decreases. Strength may fluctuate slightly early on, but this usually stabilizes as adaptation occurs. Another long-term benefit is mental resilience. Training without relying on immediate food builds confidence in the body's capabilities. Movement becomes less conditional. Missed meals stop feeling like emergencies. This psychological freedom often transfers into other areas of life, improving consistency and self-trust. It's also important to address expectations. Fasted exercise is not supposed to feel euphoric every time. Some days feel normal. Some days feel slightly harder. That variability is not failure, it's physiology responding to sleep, stress, hydration, and workload. Judging the method by one bad session misses the bigger picture. One mistake that undermines long-term success is combining fasted training with chronic calorie restriction. When both intensity and intake are too low for too long, recovery suffers. Hormones adapt defensively. Progress stalls. Fasted exercise works best when the rest of the day provides sufficient nutrition to support recovery and adaptation. Sleep also plays a critical role. Training fasted while sleep-deprived amplifies stress responses. Cortisol rises. Energy feels unstable. Before blaming fasting, it's important to evaluate sleep quality. Metabolic flexibility depends on recovery just as much as it depends on stimulus. Social flexibility matters too. If fasted training creates anxiety around meals, workouts, or social plans, it's no longer serving its purpose. Health is not built through isolation or rigidity. The best strategy is the one that fits your life consistently without friction. When all of this is considered, one conclusion becomes clear. Exercising without eating is not reckless. It's not extreme. And it's not reserved for elite athletes or biohackers. It's something the human body was designed to do. The fear surrounding it comes from misunderstanding, not evidence. Your body was never meant to require constant feeding to function. It was designed to adapt, switch fuel sources, and protect vital tissue when resources were limited. Fasted exercise simply reminds your metabolism of a capability it already has. This doesn't mean everyone should train fasted. It means you now understand when it can help, when it can hurt, and how to use it responsibly. Knowledge removes fear, control replaces confusion, and choice replaces rigid rules. Some fitness voices insist you must always eat before training. Others claim fasted workouts are the only way to get lean. Both extremes miss the point. Fasted exercise is neither mandatory nor useless. It is misunderstood. And once understood, it becomes optional rather than controversial. The real goal is not suffering, it's control. Control over your energy, control over your metabolism, control over how your body responds to stress, food, and movement. When those systems work together, progress becomes sustainable instead of exhausting. If you choose to experiment with fasted exercise, start small. Pay attention, adapt slowly. Let your body lead instead of forcing outcomes. The most effective strategies are the ones that feel manageable, not heroic. Over time, you may find that some workouts feel better fasted and others feel better fed. That's not an inconsistency, that's intelligence. Fitness is not about choosing sides, it's about choosing context. The conversation around fasted exercise doesn't need more hype. It needs clarity. When stripped of fear and exaggeration, what remains is a simple truth. Your body is capable of far more than you were taught to believe. Understanding how energy actually works changes how you train, how you eat, and how you listen to your body. Once that understanding is in place, you no longer rely on rules, you rely on awareness. And awareness is what creates lasting results. Not extremes. Not shortcuts. Not discipline through punishment. But cooperation with how your body was designed to function. This video is for educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. Individual responses to exercise and fasting vary based on health status, medications, and personal history. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional before making changes to your exercise or nutrition routine, especially if you have a medical condition, are pregnant, breastfeeding, or taking prescription medications. Thanks for watching. If this video helped you understand your body in a new way, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still thinks skipping a pre-workout meal is dangerous. And let me know what topic you want covered next, whether it's fat loss, muscle growth, fasting, or performance so I can break it down with real science, not myths.